sort of give you my thoughts around what I think will happen in the next 5 or 10 years and how all of us will shape that future as we go forward. Obviously, Chris mentioned Bart's, and when I look at Bart's, and its kind of history of over 900 years, I think about innovation, think about change of healthcare, change both education and sort of outcomes. And you imagine going back to William Harvey's day, almost 300 or 400 years ago. He was the first person to discover the circulation of blood, for example, as one of the first experiments to have taken place. Also, he defined physiology as a kind of discipline, but also looked at how we challenge our minds and thinking something different might happen. So William Harvey, for me, and it's been said many times before, was the most important person in the digital health revolution by finding out the way that the heart works and circulation runs, because all your smartphones, your iWatch, all based around this circulation problem with your sensors, Fitbits, etc. So actually, in some ways, he was really the father of digital health.
Ladies and gentlemen, the doctor-patient and doctor-student relationship has been based on direct human contact, using the senses of sight, touch and sound to enable the transfer of both knowledge and wisdom. We are now entering the metaphysical world, where there is a convergence of technologies that are going to redefine human interaction. We are all global citizens who can both impact the world individually and collectively by connecting our minds.
So this is my avatar, created on a HoloLens system. Okay? So what I wanted to show you is how we're going to redefine both medicine, but also the human interaction that we're all used to in clinical practice. The question for me to you is, if the avatar was your doctor, would you be happy? Would you be comfortable? Would you be happy conversing with an AI interface based on avatars, virtual human people? As we look at medicine now, if you go back a couple of years ago, some of you may have heard of the term the fourth industrial revolution. So Klaus Schwab, who's the World Economic Forum chairman, came out with a statement a few years ago saying that we are really going through this transformational change. Lots of technologies coming together which will blur the lines between the physical, the digital, and the biological spheres. It's all coming together. He mentioned lots of technologies, but in medicine this is even more important. I say to my medical students and my trainees and my colleagues that this is the most exciting time to be alive in medicine. Not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, not 100 years ago. It's this. We are kind of living through this amazing changes where tech is all coming together at the same point. We've never had such riches of technologies like AI, like blockchain, like AR, VR, nanobiotech, sensors, wearables, big data, etc. So health practice and education will change immeasurably in the next 5 or 10 years. And you can start thinking about it. No point in saying it's not happening. It's happening as we speak. And for all of us, it's to change our mindsets going forward. And the mindset has changed because this is where we are. We're all linear thinkers. So all of us think in linear steps. We can't progress exponentially. But I want you guys to go away and think about exponential change and growth, because that's what's happening in the real world outside these four walls. What do I mean by that? If I say to all of you, I'm taking 30 linear steps, you understand what I'm talking about. If I walk from here, I'll get probably to the end of the room, if not just beyond. That's 30 steps. You understand sequentially that makes sense. If I say to you, okay, now let's take 30 exponential steps together, the way that tech is powered, computers are powered, and the escalation in power that we have, how far do you think I'd get? Past that door maybe? Maybe to the railway station? Actually, we would have gone on a journey around the planet 26 times. That's the pace of change that none of us are used to, because we're stuck in this place called health service. It doesn't change. It's very slow, incremental change almost. But actually what's going to happen in the future very quickly is rapid change and progression. I'm faculty at Singularity University, a think tank based out in the US, which is a kind of place where we talk about the global problems. One of the things I often say about healthcare is that we're kind of stuck with the dogma tradition. I'm a surgeon. Chris also will know that a lot of us don't change. We're happy with what we do on a day-to-day basis. And actually, the question for me to the audience here is, how many of you would like to be mediocre in your lifetime? And not surprisingly, no one puts their hands up. But actually we are, because you don't challenge everything every day. Every process can be redefined, made better. If you don't do that, you're accepting mediocrity by definition. So go away, think about that. If I'm accepting mediocrity, is that really where we want to be in the future? Of course not. Now, when I qualified many years ago, of course, we all get the Hippocratic Oath, which has been superseded by the Geneva Convention now. Obviously, that's our pledge to our patients about being good and being honourable and being professional and being ethical, that kind of stuff. But when we look at medicine as a whole, we think about the picture on the left-hand side, the depiction of that doctor-patient relationship. I'm a cancer specialist. I spend every Tuesday morning breaking bad news to patients. Sometimes good news, sometimes bad news. But that's what I do for a living. And it's about that kind of image, isn't it? It's the hand touch, it's the being close, it's the empathy, it's that kind of approach to medicine that we all think is right. But that's changing. We haven't got time for that anymore. It's too expensive. Human contact is too expensive. Healthcare systems around the world haven't got enough money. So for this part of the consultation is too expensive. What do I mean by that? You look at the futurists of yesteryear, 1924, here we go, 100 years ago, they figured it out. We're not going to be seeing patients face to face. We're going to be radio doctors, using radio waves. Back 100 years ago, thinking actually we can't redesigning it. And what they're thinking about, what's called telemedicine. We've now become what's called one-click generation. We are kind of, in this world that we live in, we're immediate. Websites, we can't click more than twice through a menu. Yes? It used to be 2 clicks, now it's 1 click. Do you have Uber here in Leeds? Okay, so Uber, let's take an example of Uber. You click Uber, it says 20 minutes. You get upset, right? You're so annoyed. But it's not 1 or 2 minutes around the corner. You can't wait the extra 10 minutes. You'd rather walk. Do you have Just Eat and food? Yes. So what happens? It says an hour and a half. Thinking that's terrible. I'm so hungry. I want it within 5 minutes. Amazon Click. We order a book. We can't wait a week. We want it within 2 hours. But we have to read that book immediately because it's so important to our lives. But healthcare is interesting because you go for an appointment. It's 6 weeks' time. I think that's okay. We can't wait 2 minutes for a taxi, wait 6 weeks for an outpatient appointment for the hospital. How does that make sense? Healthcare is far more important than a taxi or some food, for example. So we've got it wrong. So science has got it wrong, healthcare has changed, and we need more immediacy in terms of this whole one-click generation that we are. So now we can click a doctor. Telemedicine platforms coming out, of course, all over the world. People connecting with a doctor live on a platform like a mobile platform or on the desktop. And you can access doctors throughout the world now, and that's changing the way we interact because it's cheaper, it's more affordable, it's immediate. Why should we wait for healthcare? But of course, that's also changing as well. Because soon, within 2 to 5 years, the first point of contact will not be a human being. You won't see a doctor. First point of contact in healthcare will be a chatbot. It'll be AI interface. Maybe using avatars, maybe using virtual people. It won't be real. Already Babylon Health in London have sorting out healthcare using AI chatbots. And now they're going global with other things like Ada, Sensely. So that gives us a problem. If we're pushing and driving healthcare into a system where there won't be any real interaction, we're going to be accessing AI interfaces and machines with deep machine learning to figure out healthcare. What do we do about the people that we're designing healthcare for, or who are going to run healthcare? The doctors, the medical students. So the problem I have with medical students is that we haven't changed. We are still teaching the same old thing over and over again for hundreds of years. If someone could tell me why medicine is still 5 years, why is it 5 years long? Why is it not 4.5 years or 4 years? Why is it 5 years after so many hundreds of years? No one's challenging, right? We just do the same thing over and over again. If we need more doctors like Matt was saying, sure, we should shorten the training. Why making it long? So these things have got to change. So the problem I have, we're trying to create the doctor of tomorrow. And we call them the digital doctors or the connected doctor. They have to have the kind of knowledge base of understanding this future healthcare system because it's so rapidly evolving. Have we done enough to do that? Of course we haven't. So what I've done at our hospital, so I'm an associate dean of the medical school at Barts, teaching for many years. And I think, how do we change that? So my third year medical students, all of them, not an SSC, no choice, go through this course called the Barts X program. First in the world to embed innovation, entrepreneurship into the program. My students are taught by these people. These aren't biochemists, anatomists or physiologists. Who are they? They are entrepreneurs. They are innovators. They do UI UX design teams. They're coders. They develop. They write businesses. They run businesses. Multimillionaires, billionaires. Because what you want to now create of students of tomorrow is nimble, flexible people who can think about tech, how to innovate, how to push healthcare service forward by giving skill sets at medical student level. So Bart's program we've been running, the students that go away after these lectures about future technologies, they form groups of 4 or 5. They then think about an idea to impact healthcare. They are supported by mentorship in the tech industry. So, okay, well, that's it. How to make that work? Where's the business case around this? They then have a hackathon. They went a hackathon at medical school. They go away for a whole day, think how to solve the problems. They all go to a Dragon's Den. Pitch your idea to a Dragon's Den. See how much you can create from this. The winners are given a 3-month placement tech company to make it work. Because these are the people that we need to help in the future. They're going to be designing health in the future. So we've got to go back. So I would urge everybody to think about introducing that. I know Leeds are introducing a 1-year now innovation kind of thing, which is fantastic to hear. But I want it to be invented in every medical school, because unless you give enough skill sets the next 5 or 10 years, well, I'm afraid you're going to miss. We have problems recruiting doctors now, don't we? Huge shortage of doctors around the world. No specialists going forward now because they want to do other things. Doctors have changed. They call themselves the portfolio doctors. They work 3 days a week. The other 2 days they want to go travelling. They want to be businessmen. They want to do other things. So we've got to create jobs and teaching around that environment. This last group are my students. They formed groups. These are winners. 5 of them came forward to the Dragon's Den. Raise VR, penicillin in, MedPower, Neuraloop, Adept Voice System. They're thinking about voice tech. How can we create voice tech? Use that to teach or train people or in clinical practice. How do we create an app to create CPD environment? What about using Neuraloop to use AI interface? Think about how we analyse scans as they come to the hospital, the immediate answers. How do we create awareness in children with VR to overcome some of the fears they may have in the hospital? Or in fact, pencil in to look at how we can avoid unnecessary cancellation of appointments, how to create apps. So these are the kind of ideas we're thinking about. And actually, we need to generate that more and more. The other thing to weigh is education a lot. Well, we all agree with this principle, that education is a fundamental human right in some ways. But actually, there's a fallacy behind this, because education itself is dependent on 2 things. One is location, where you're born, where you happen to be. The other thing is how much money you have, resource. It's not free for everybody. So we've got to overcome some of these issues around education, making it much more transferable and available and accessible around the world. The image that comes to mind for me, going back as a surgeon, is this. This is how we've been taught for many years, in auditoriums. It's like gladiatorial, isn't it? You go there, and the surgeon is the king. He's in the centre of this room. People are around and learning. Look at the person at the back. You ask me, how much is he learning from that environment? We've accepted this. But of course it gets worse. How on earth do you think people will learn in this environment? Now, Chris will tell you this, in medical school and teaching for a long time in surgery, we've always had lots of students around us. There's no way they can go to the operating theatre. They're in the back of the room. Occasionally being called over, right? Chris, point out to anatomy structure, what's that? They always get it wrong. They always go back, off you go. So these students spend, what, £9,000 a year for the privilege of being in the back of the room for 8 hours a day? Is that value for money? I don't think it is. And you know what they're doing? They're on their smartphone. Always. On Instagram, on Facebook, on social media. Trying to learn about something. So, but we've accepted this for such a long time. Surgery, this is how, I'm saying you learn by a process of what I call osmosis and diffusion. Just by being in the room amongst such greatness, you kind of assimilate facts, right? Chris, this was happened for a long time. The other thing you've got to remember is the world's more connected. Here we are. These are the kind of things people do, for example. Google putting balloons in the cloud to give high-speed Wi-Fi access, big cable from North America to Portugal to allow us access to big data storage. And of course, there's the satellites that Elon Musk is putting in. Also the drones that Facebook are putting in. All these, so we're being connected. So big tech companies, and I work with a lot of them, and I say, look, we're going to connect you. We can make things much more powerful by connecting the human minds around the world. And we know this problem, the shortage of doctors around the world. Matt quite eloquently said that before. We're running out of ideas. This medical school is quite long, trains quite long. They're not interested, they will leave. So we've got to figure out how do we overcome the manpower issues around the world, not just about the UK. Our legacy has to be on a global health basis. In surgery, of course, the Commission came out with a report about 4 years ago, and Matt said already, there's gross inequality of surgical training around the world, gross access to surgery, and the question of how do we overcome some of the issues. So I'm also a member of Council of the College of Surgeons of England, and one of my roles is the international department. I've spent a lot of time travelling. I've visited about 30 countries in the last 3 years, speaking to health ministries, talking to governments, talking to college surgeons, thinking about how do we improve training? What is our answers to the global problem of inequality of surgical training? You could visit countries, of course. You can take training further. We collaborated now at the College of Surgeons with many institutions around the world, many countries, all of these, to think about what do we need to do to create better standards in the DFID countries or lower middle income countries. So we've done that. We've got all these countries. So we work with them to place people in the program here for 2 years targeted training. Paul from Kenya came a few years ago. He wanted specific urology training. He's got that. Nothing major, no fancy robotics, just simple things in urology. He's gone back to serve a population of 1.5 million people on his own in Kenya. So you've got targets, so you can do that. You can go to countries, figure out what's required, and be very specific to target those countries. And we've appointed all the hospitals. We've saved the NHS probably about over 30 million over 2 years or 3 years on locum costs. Because we spend a lot of money on locums, right? It's the biggest spend is human work and the human resources. So you can figure out how the world may work better to fill the posts that we don't have, make sure we target training, and you support countries who are developing. And I also work in conflict zones. This is me going into Gaza, a conflict zone, where I run a huge program of training and education. When you walk through these conflict zones where you may be vaporized or shot as you go through because of political problems we have, you start thinking, how can I overcome the hurdles that we create for ourselves, using maybe technology in that sense. So you go train. This is us training in Gaza, doing training from the trainers, to basic surgical skills, laparoscopic skills, and operating on complex cases, to ensure that we sustain the kind of level of training required. Yeah, I've been to Egypt with the Academy, all throughout India we're creating learning opportunities, and also throughout the Middle East and Africa, especially Kazakhstan, and this is in Bangladesh with huge partnerships. So you can travel. But to my mind, traveling is expensive. It's time inefficient. It's personally rewarding, but it doesn't have impact that it should have. You can have much better impact on a global level. Individually, it's okay, but we need to do better. So AR and VR is one solution to a problem. We'll talk about lots of others. So AR and VR is going to be big, and we've demonstrated the platform already. It all started off a few years ago. This man, Palmalaki, who went on a crowdsourced thing called a Kickstarter, and he wanted a new headset that came out, and raised a lot of money. He sold his company for 2.1 billion to Facebook 2 years later. So it's a concept that seems to take traction going forward. And they're getting cheaper, as Gareth mentioned already. They're cheaper as we go forward. The big headsets that were expensive now are much more affordable. And AR is interesting. Augmented reality is also coming in parallel with VR. Both are synonymous in terms of what we do. And actually, we'll be wearing headsets going forward in the near future with sensors, lenses, whatever, in the near future. All your smartphones are powered by AR, with these on the Android and the iOS systems. So all your phones will be powered by augmented reality. This company came out recently, have released their first Magic Leap device using mixed reality kind of content, which is going to change the world we live in. Putting it together, connecting people, globalization, scaling, education, whatever it is, where do we go? So a few years ago, this was Google Glass that came out, that you may remember. Has anybody used a Google Glass in the room? Yeah, it's still a good device. I still think it's way before its time. We weren't ready as society for something like the glass technology. So I use Google Glass to live stream an operation through my eyes. So we configured the glass, you can do a live stream. People around the world on their smartphones could watch the operation live, and they could also text a message, which would go onto the glass as I was operating and answer at the same time. So I could teach independently, remotely, to many people. On that day, this is what we did. It was a cancer surgery, right-handed colectomy. On that day, I taught 14,000 people across the globe on a single day, interacting across 118 countries, just using a simple Google Glass and connecting people around the world. We created a whole platform called Virtual Medics, which allows you amazing views of an operation with peer-to-peer learning, with a chat box next to it, so it encourages people to be part of this generation. So we had a whole platform around using wearable tech for training purposes in surgery. I even managed to teach this person how to operate. I'm not sure who this is. This is a chap called John Scully. John Scully, you probably don't know who he is, but you should know who he is. You do know who he is. He was the CEO of Apple. Okay, he's the guy who sacked Steve Jobs, right? He made Apple into the first world's trillion-dollar company, right? So he's important for the world we live in. I taught John Scully at 70 years of age how to remote operation using wearable tech, using a glass. He's got a mobile phone company, wants to access Africa and India using cheap technology. We can create all these images around this where you can just remotely teach people like that. That's my trainee with Google Glass going around the ward. I could be anywhere around the world, looking through him, speaking to my patients, and connecting with them, making sure that I'm around if I need to, using just wearable tech in that fashion. But it's become more and more sophisticated. You get now touch systems, iPads, and this company called AMA who produce great stuff to work in ambulances remotely, remote access, and you can stream things as you're doing them in real time. This is often what I look like when I operate, because what I'm trying to do here is connect my people. And this is me teaching my medical students next to me from Barts. While wearing my technology, I'm actually teaching thousands of people across the globe at the same time, share that knowledge. So it's about sharing knowledge. Let's think about this. So as educators in this room, you all have great knowledge. The question for me really is, how do you leave that legacy? Would you not like to leave that knowledge behind to tens of thousands of people? Chris spent a lifetime in surgery, it's cardiac surgery, right? I mean, that knowledge that he's acquired should be given to as many people as possible. Why keep it to just a few people around you? So the legacy that you need to think about, not one-to-one, one-to-two, is one-to-many. How do I leave that and share that knowledge on a global level? So VR itself now, interestingly, it's become mainstream. It's called virtual therapy. It's been shown to be useful in phobias, anxiety disorders, in clinical papers and trials, in post-traumatic stress disorders, and of course things like pain relief. Children now could be offered VR immersive therapy to overcome some of the bandages they have to be replaced during burns or something. It takes away some of the analgesia requirements for pain. So surgery might change. I've seen someone do laparoscopy using just immersive therapy and no anaesthetic. So this is really interesting how this might evolve going forward. It's useful, of course, for people training or visualizing in neurosurgery, for example, anatomy beforehand, overlay information if necessary, useful for looking at, this is an orthopedic team for also VR in America who are doing simulation for orthopedic training. And then, of course, there's this amazing device. This will change everything. People will not be stabbed anymore multiple times, all right? Because they'll find their veins immediately using AR interface. And of course, for surgeons, we can pre-plan surgery using overlays. This is someone put a needle into their back. That's far more better than what we've got at the moment going forward. And they're more sophisticated now. We've got these systems now where you can create amazing models. Well, this is a company called Insight Heart, who I had the pleasure of working with a little bit. And they're looking at amazing anatomy now and physiology using AI interfaces. But of course, you can also overlay information. This is a team from Japan, Maki Sugimoto, who's creating real-time overlays using scanning CTs, MRIs as you operate to depict maybe tumours, etc. So all this is going to change the way we live. The world that we live in now is really going to be like this. So workers of tomorrow will have such amazing learning material, it'll be unbelievable. But what about social media? So I guess all of you must be on social media, probably on Facebook, I guess, the audience in this room, yes? Some of you may be on Twitter, I guess. Some on Instagram, but very few on Snapchat. It's a young man's game, right? Yeah? Hardly anybody. Because Facebook, you know how many users it has on a daily basis? 2 billion people use Facebook every day. That's a third of the world's population. Are on the computers, looking at Facebook, looking at fake news, whatever it is, right? Snapchat has about 200 million users. The users are between the ages of 17 and 25, most, 75%. That's why you probably don't access Snapchat. But you can think about all social media, I don't want to get involved, and yes, it's there, it's dangerous and harmful. but it's real, it's there, we have to use it. We have to think about social media and maybe a way of using social media and technology as a way to teach people on a global level. Remember, Snapchat is the world's most powerful augmented reality platform. It's AR with overlays, with selfies that you take, yes? That's AR. So it's the most amount of users actually in augmented reality. So we experimented with social media. This was me teaching in Bangladesh. 5 years ago, one click, Facebook click, well, it just came out live, Facebook Live, one click, I was in Bangladesh. I trained 10,000 surgeons in Bangladesh just using one click. Because these countries rely on social media a lot to gather information, okay? And because these huge populations they have, they're going to figure out how to train people. What about Snapchat? So I decided to do something unusual using social media, a bit of an experiment. I thought, can I teach my medical students, my trainees using a social media device, Snapchat. Snapchat allows you to, the spectacles, which just come out, allows you to click, take 10-second clips of what you're seeing and talk about it, and then put it into your story, which obviously then come into the social media platform and you can access that information. Bit of risk I took, but I thought, let's see what it looks like. This is what it looked like in reality. 10-second clips, thinking, how do I structure a hernia operation over the course of this? So this is anatomy, anterior spine, symphysis pubis, pubic tubercle, and inguinal canal. So you may think, what a thing to do, why would you want to do that? And I thought much the same thing. But you know what, the impact was just incredible. Yes, it was covered in virtually every newspaper around the world. Every TV station picked up the story. The Editor of Time magazine phoned me on Saturday night saying, Shafi, I'm coming on Sunday night for you, Sunday morning especially for you, to write the story from America. Can we have time together? The Editor of Time magazine, thinking this is an interesting story. And of course, I've been lucky enough to be in many magazines and TV stations around the world, but you know the one I'm most proud of? It was being in Cosmopolitan. Cosmo covered my story, front page. Can you imagine how disruptive that is in terms of where we are? You can watch the hernia operation on Cosmo, crazy, yeah? And you know, I'm a colorectal surgeon, so my children don't think I'm particularly cool. Having spent my life looking at people's bottoms, it's not a cool thing that their father does, right? You know, for one day of their life, they thought they were really proud of me because Ashton Kutcher put me on his Facebook wall, right? And he became my friend on Facebook, right? And he likes what I do. So the impact that operation had, it had 2 million views, okay, within a few months. It had over 100,000 downloads in 24 hours of people thinking this is a new way of learning. And every time I operate now, on Snapchat, I get all these comments from around the world. Every country is almost covered with people being taught and trained using social media. If you look at the impact of one operation that I did, hernia operation, nothing fancy, straightforward hernia surgery. Guess how many people tweeted, retweeted, or even liked that operation? What do you think? In a month. It was 56 million people around the world were engaged in a single one learning episode. So your reach can be enormous if you're thinking about your user interface, who's looking at you, and using what one needs to look at. This is interesting. I'll share a story with you. I often ask my students, where are you and where are you watching it from? And they say, yeah, from here, from there. One of the girls said, hey, my name's Ella. I'm a third-year medical student. I'm watching and being taught by you from Marianas Islands. So I thought, where the hell's that, right? So I Google Earthed it. I kept zooming in and zooming in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, island of 30,500 people, and she's been trained by me from there using all this kind of technology. That's powerful, right? Really reaching people that you may never thought reaching in the future. What about Twitter? Can we teach on Twitter? Well, I did. I was the NHS account holder for a whole week. I was one of the people that given the account for a whole week. Use it, it's yours. So I was tweeting about my life as a surgeon, etc. I thought, can I actually do a live operation on Twitter using the 140 characters? Why wouldn't you, right? So we did. This was the biggest moment in NHS account history. There are 1 million people looking at this, all right, on a live throughout the day, tweeting what I was doing, how the team was working, how to make surgery more open and more transparent. We've been stuck with this tradition of making surgery so mysterious. This was the camera rig, allows immersion, people around the